Hello, YouTube friends. Guess what I'm doing today? I am sitting in my office. It is snowy and cold. I'm drinking some tea, doing some computer work, but I'm also digging out my garden and seed starting supplies because this time of year I am dreaming about my garden and also making a plan of what seeds I want to start indoors, what seeds I'm gonna plant outside, and what my garden is going to look like. Every year I feel like I learn more and more and pick varieties that I like to grow and things that we decide we don't like to grow. And I'm growing in a whole new environment here in our new home and our new location. So this week I thought it would be really fun to share something with you that I have put together for anyone who needs a little bit of help, a little bit of motivation, getting their garden plan going, getting it started. If you are a seasoned gardener or if you're just beginning, you have nowhere to start, this offer that I have for you is going to be really exciting. I put together a seed starting 101 course that walks you through all my tried and true tips, hands-on tips and tricks of how to start your own garden plants. We go through a lot of good things in this class, all the way from what varieties you should pick, how to lay out your garden, how to get these plants started, how to care for them, and have ultimate success growing your own starts from home. If this is something that you're interested in, go ahead and check the link in the video description because I would love for you to join me in the online class. It is available to you 24/7. It's pre-recorded. It's at your own convenience. You don't have to make certain class times. I'm always there for you. I'm teaching you through video learning, and I also have some resources, including a blank copy of your garden journal. That way you can follow along with me and work on planning out your own garden. I have veggie lists in there for you. I have garden layout plans. So I have graph paper for you to draw out your garden, companion planting lists. I have some calendars for you to mark out different time frames of when and what you want to do at different times. And I kind of walk you through a lot of this in the class. So I would love for you to jump online with me, get a copy of the garden journal, and take the online class. I've made it super inexpensive, but every purchase, every little bit goes to help me keep me going doing this crazy YouTube stuff. So I appreciate the support. Go ahead and go to www.mtwildrootsco.com. Link is in the video description. Check out the e-course, and this week I would just leave you with a little bit more of an intro that I filmed for the course and my favorite video that is included in the course, and that is what do I plant? How to pick varieties and how to read seed packets. This is one of my favorite things to talk about in the class, and I think you're going to really enjoy this video. So here's a sneak peek. Enjoy the video, and I'll see you next week. Well, hello my friends. It is that time of year again. It is time to think about starting our spring gardens, and I'm so excited. It is cold and it's still very snowy and icy in northwest Montana, but I'm gearing up for the garden season. I am thrilled to have you join me this year. If you are new to gardening and starting your garden for the very first time, or if you're an avid gardener looking for more information about starting your own seeds, newest online Learn from Home course will be perfect for you. It's called Let's Start a Garden Seed Starting 101. Maybe you have some gardening knowledge, but you want to dial in those skills. Maybe you need to feel more organized and have a better plan to get started earlier in the season. Perhaps you're the beginner gardener looking to learn how to get started. Any victory gardeners out there? I will share with you all of the basics to start your garden. You can take it as far as you want to go. Those of you with a small space, no problem. This totally can apply to you. If you have a limited budget, if you live in the city, large garden, small garden, does not matter. What will you learn in this course? You will learn how to start and keep your very own gardening journal. In fact, I will have an instant download for you so you make it even easier to get a jump start on your garden journal. You will learn how to choose the vegetables that you want to plant based on your location, varieties, and your preferences. You will learn the different options of where to purchase your garden seeds, how to keep your seeds and your packets organized, how to determine your gardening zone and first and last frost dates, heirloom, hybrid, organic, conventional, GMO. What does this all mean? Learn what to start indoors and what to direct sow outdoors, how to set up a simple germination area in your house, tips and tricks for successful germination, how and when to start seeds indoor, the different container and soil options, ideas for seedling grow racks from simple to DIY, thrifty to more complex. You will learn how to care for your seedlings and when to transplant those seedlings outdoors. What you get with the purchase of this e-course, you'll get my Let's Start a Garden Seed Starting 101 book included with this course, an instant download, save it on your device, you can print it, you can have it bound, or even put it in your own binder or folder and keep that for a handy reference. You'll get an instant downloadable garden journal, and I will walk you through what is helpful to include and save year after year. The course will also include direct links to basic, very affordable supplies and also resources that are extremely handy as you begin and get going on your gardening and seed starting journey. Also a plan of what you want to plant. I'll demonstrate how to sketch out a garden, your planning lists, and demonstrate how you can start your own seeds at home early so you're ready to hit it as soon as that last frost date happens. There will be a lot more included in this course, and I cannot wait to get started with you. Head on over to mtwildrootsco.com, out our list of e-courses. Sign up for How to Start a Garden Seed Starting 101 e-course today. Alright, my friends, we are back, and in the last video we talked about how to read seed packets. We can kind of sketch out a rough draft of our garden space. Now that's to get you started and get your feet wet. Now we're going to start to pick out the veggies that we want to put into our garden. After we do some more deep diving into this, you decide you're going to change things around in your garden, but remember, that's why we have a pencil and an eraser. It's not a problem to just move things around, change some things up. This is your garden. You're going to plant what you want. Okay, so the big question is, what should I plant in the garden? So maybe you couldn't even get started on your garden sketch and your list of what you were interested in. Maybe that's just even too far for you at this point in the game, and that's totally fine. After this section, you should have a better idea and you can go back and then you can pencil in and sketch your garden later. You've got plenty of time to do this. I want to teach you how to read seed packets and how to look through catalogs and find the information that you're going to need about seed sources and how to determine what types of varieties might be appropriate in your area. So let's go ahead and pull out some packets. What kinds of things are you going to find on your seed packet? You're going to find things like plant descriptions, what the plant might taste like, how long or tall it might grow to be. You're going to find the different sizes that they're going to be at maturity, likely find information about the date the seed was packaged or the year, the garden year this seed was intended for. This is important because as seeds get older, they tend to be less reliable with germination. So you want to look for seeds that are fresh and meant for your current growing season. You're going to want to look on the packet for days to maturity. This gives you information about varieties that you would want to select for your particular growing season. For example, I have two different types of carrots here. I have a Danvers carrot that takes 75 days to maturity, and I also have a hybrid carrot called Sugar Snacks. One of these carrots takes about 75 days to mature, and the other one takes 68 days. Now that might not sound like a big deal, but when you are dealing with short growing season, week or 2 weeks makes a big difference. Pick the one that is most appropriate for your area. You're going to find information like seed type and class, heirloom, hybrid, organic, non-GMO, these kinds of words you want to look for, especially if you have certain gardening convictions. You want to make sure that you're avoiding synthetic fertilizers or pesticides. We're going to talk about the difference between heirloom, hybrid, and words like organic and non-GMO in another section. There's going to be information about time to germination. That's how long it takes the seed to become alive and produce a little sprout and begin to grow. Sometimes there's special considerations on there, like information about disease or pest resistance, especially in hybrids. There'll be information about how to plant, including how many seeds to sow, maybe information about how many seeds to sow per row. You might find information about how many seeds are actually in the packet, when to plant indoors, the type of temperature or environment you're looking for to plant outdoors, words like plant in the sun or shade, direct sow as soon as the ground is workable. Direct sow meaning put the seed directly in the ground in the garden versus starting indoors. You'll find information on hardiness zones. Sometimes there's a picture of a regional map that shows you what months you want to plant in certain areas, the information about seed planting depth, how deep to plant your seed, and so much more. Long story short, get used to reading seed packets, and different companies will have different words and different information on their packets. So get used to looking at all kinds of different seed packets and learning how to read them. As far as seed catalogs go, these are so much fun. But again, I would make sure you have a list of what you would like to purchase. You know how you go to the grocery store hungry and without a list and you just buy all kinds of things because it looks great? That's the same with gardening and seeds. Make sure you have a list of what you need or what you're interested in before you pick up one of these catalogs. I mean, look at these carrots on the front. There's so many beautiful varieties. Subscribe to magazines like Johnny's or Gurney's is a great way to just practice reading about different varieties. Seed catalogs will have names of different varieties. They will also indicate whether they're hybrids or whether they're heirlooms, whether they're organic or whether they're conventional. They'll often tell you the weight or the size of the seed packet and how many seeds are in that packet. There will also be a description of the variety and the days to maturity. Just like on a seed packet, sometimes there's a little bit more information, and in the front of the magazine, there is often a variety key and a glossary of terms. So start in the front of your magazine and learn how that magazine labels and indicates different things before you dive in. But seed magazines are so much fun. I mean, look at all these lettuces. How fun is that? Seed companies like Gurney's and Johnny's and even Eden Brothers have wonderful online magazines and magazines you can have directly sent to your home. There's just something about sitting down with a seed catalog and flipping through and looking at the pictures that I just love. When my catalogs come in the mail in February, man, I just know that spring is on its way, and it makes me so happy. What vegetables you plant absolutely depend on what you like to eat. Now, I'm all about trying something new, especially with kids. Planting vegetables with kids, picky eaters especially. It's amazing what kids will eat when they've had a chance to be involved and to grow something. It's very surprising. I'm always shocked at what my toddlers will just pull out of the garden and help themselves to. It's really a lot of fun. But don't waste your valuable time. Don't waste your money on planting things for your family that they don't even like, that you will not eat. Now, I am speaking to the choir here because every year I plant things that we just don't eat. Right now, I have a Ziploc bag in my crisper drawer of my refrigerator full of beets. And you know how many years in a row I have planted beets? Probably 10 years in a row, thinking that, well, maybe my family will start to like beets. But you know what? My family does not like beets. They don't eat them. I like roasted beets. I don't eat them all that often. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to plant them this year. So don't waste your time and money planting things you don't like. Now, planting a garden and seed starting especially lets you try all kinds of new varieties and things. Just getting started with your garden, started with growing plants from seed, maybe seed starting, start with the basics. I know these seed catalogs have beautiful varieties in there, super unique. I mean, speaking of beets, look at all those beautiful colors of beets. How about carrots? Look at those beautiful carrots. I mean, it is so tempting to just go for the purple potatoes, grab those purple carrots. I mean, I have done that. And if you're starting out, stick with something basic. Stick with the basic varieties, whether it's from a catalog or whether it's from your home and garden center and you're buying the little packets. Narrow down what you like to plant, maybe over the next few years, to the few varieties that you enjoy and that perform well for you. Don't select wacky or unique varieties, at least initially, until you've had a few successful seasons under your belt with the basic, simple go-to varieties. The seeds and plants that you choose must fit in your garden space. They must be appropriate for your garden zone and your season. They must be something your family will eat or that you have a plan for. Okay, so let me remind you of why we might want to start some vegetables indoors. Set up for succession planting. So for example, lettuces don't grow well when it's really hot. So for us, that's July and August, but they tend to do really well started inside. I can start lettuces indoors, say the beginning of March. Plant them outside as small starts as early as the beginning of April. I can have mature lettuces ready to harvest very early. I could then direct sow a second planting. After that harvest, those would be ready, and I can pull out all my lettuces before it gets really, really hot in July and August. So that's a great example of getting the most out of your garden space. I can get 2 full harvests of a variety before I pull those out, and then perhaps I put in the garden something that doesn't need a lot of time to grow, but loves to be hot. Cucumber transplants like to be hot. They could go outside. Green beans do okay in the heat, things like that. When you plant something at the beginning of a season or early in the season, then you harvest that and you plant a second sowing, or you plant a second variety of crop. That is succession planting. You don't plant at the beginning of the season and just harvest at the very end. You actually start early and take advantage of starting indoors to get multiple harvests. If you are new or a beginner gardener, the basics or the easiest or the best veggies, now this is subjective, but I do have a list of some really easy varieties in your veggie garden journal at the bottom of your vegetable list for your garden. My top 10 veggies to start with would be radish. Radish grows really fast. Greens of any kind like spinach, lettuces, chard, those are good germinators and they grow really fast as well. Green beans, potatoes, zucchini, tomatoes, carrots, onions, pumpkins, and beets are all good vegetables for beginners. Keep in mind that most of these easy or beginner varieties of veggies can just be directly sown into the garden really well. Things like greens, radish, carrots, and beets are often planted as soon as the soil is workable in the spring. They will take a little bit longer to germinate than if you planted them indoors because seeds tend to like warmth to germinate, but after the plant has germinated and is a certain size, they really don't need to be that warm. A lot of plants can handle temperatures down to 50 degrees. As long as they're not freezing, they really don't need to be that warm. And people don't always understand this concept. And that's a big reason why we start seeds inside. A lot of seeds need to be 70 to 80 degrees to germinate. Well, here in Montana, that's June. So if you put a seed in the ground early, say in May, that seed could sit there until the ground gets warm enough to germinate. 60 to 70 to 80 degrees. That could take a long time. Whereas you take that same seed and you start it indoors in a climate controlled condition, you get it to germinate. Maybe you grow it inside for 3 to 4 weeks. You put it outside at the same time, say maybe early May, and that plant will do quite well and you'll get an early harvest. The plant itself doesn't need to be all that warm, but the germinating seed does. Now, some vegetables like potatoes, for example, are not grown from a seed like you would think. They're actually grown from a part of the parent plant, root or vegetable or tuber or rhizome or whatever you want to call it. The potato, whether it's a whole seed potato or a piece of a potato, as long as it has a little piece of the eye, the potato can be planted. Offspring or the resulting plants will come up from that seed. Often vegetables like onions are started from little set shoots, but you can definitely start onion from little teeny tiny seeds. Those take a very long time to maturity, so you would want to start onions indoors and plant them out when they're little tiny little onion sets. Things like vining plants like pumpkins and pole beans are difficult to grow indoors because it's hard to prevent them from getting really long and out of control. They just take up a lot of space indoors. And then because they're so big, when you go to plant them outside, they just don't do well. You might think a larger plant at a nursery or somewhere like that is a great option. You know, you pick out a cucumber plant and you get the really long one with the buds on it. And that's actually not what you're looking for in a healthy transplant. You tend to want the plants that are medium to a little bit smaller. You really want the root to be healthy. The plants that tend to be really long, and especially if they have buds, they're almost past the prime of being able to transplant well. It means they're just really set in that container, and they might just go into a transplant shock and just not grow well when planted out in the gardens. They can also become tangled and unruly and just not good. If your growing season is relatively short, like mine, 106 days, I would never be able to grow a 100-day onion very successfully if I didn't start it early. That depends on the variety, how many days to maturity. There are types of onions like bunching onion and scallion or green onion or spring onion, if you're looking at packages, that you harvest early on, or you harvest them green, or you harvest them when they're small. So this is another example why you'd want to look at your seed packet and read about varieties, read about when they're good to harvest, and how long it takes to get to maturity. Not all seed and plant varieties are adapted for your area. If nothing else, that should be pretty clear at this point. So what do? The best way to figure all this out is to talk to locals. Local gardeners, local gardening clubs, online local gardening groups, and ask what varieties they like and what does well. Seed savers and seed saver exchanges are great options for trying local veggie varieties. Many places like libraries will sometimes host seed saver exchanges where people can bring in seeds that they save for their garden, and you can trade or change them out. And that is great because that seed has been grown in the area, is typically been acclimated to the area, and will often do quite well. Many local libraries also have seed catalogs where they've had seeds donated, whether that be from local people or companies or government programs, and you can actually check out seeds with your library card and bring them home and plant them. Just say a note about online. Be careful with, I know a lot of us are following content creators these days, whether that's YouTube or on other spaces. Just don't get sucked into feeling like they have all the answers. They may be in a different, completely different climate or zone than you. So you can certainly learn lots of good tips and things from them, but you've got to keep in mind that their zone and climate could be quite different. Remember that key question from earlier, what does your family like to eat, right? If your family doesn't like something, you can go ahead and cross that off your list. Ultimately, you want to grow things that you love. If you're putting this time and energy into it to grow something that you just don't like, that's just really disheartening and can put you off to gardening completely, and that is the last thing that I want to do. Don't buy varieties that are out of your days or your growing season. We talked about practicing to read seed packets, looking at the days to maturity, and I encourage you to sign up for seed catalogs and practice reading them. Don't get overwhelmed. There are so many options. Just have fun with it and learn how to read the catalogs and seed packets. Remember to make a shopping list of what you're looking for so that you don't overspend and get overwhelmed. The last thing that I want to mention for this section of the course is at the end of each season to note varieties that you really liked or that did really well for you. Write this down. You may think you're going to remember it, but you probably won't. Over time, you will compile a list of your very own favorite varieties that your family loves, that you love, and should make seed shopping a breeze. Okay, that was a lot. That was a fun section. We're going to end it there, and I will see you in the next video.